Good morning, everyone. On behalf of CAR, I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome you to our first general membership meeting of the year. And that groundhog was certainly right about 6 more weeks of winter. So I hope everyone has been okay with the back-to-back storms this week, and we appreciate everyone's flexibility as we deliver this event virtually rather than in person. To begin today's meeting, I welcome you to join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we will move into the approval of the minutes of our December general membership meeting, which included the 2025 installation of officers and directors. The minutes were included in our handouts. And if there are any additions or corrections to the distributed minutes, you can submit your feedback using the Zoom chat window. If there are no additions or corrections, they will stand as distributed, approved as distributed. Thank you. Next, I would like to acknowledge the CAR antitrust statement. The statement ensures that we are encouraging discussions that promote all realtors and does not restrict competition among members or potential members. We work to foster a forum for open discussion of diverse opinions without attempting in any way to discourage or sanction any business practice. The CAR antitrust statement will be acknowledged before every CAR meeting. You can see a full copy of our antitrust statement in today's handouts. We are extremely grateful for our sponsors for stepping up and helping us provide this wonderful program today. This morning is being brought to you courtesy of our presenting sponsor, Fulton Mortgage Company, and supporting sponsors, Charlottesville Moving Solutions, Cornerstone Homes, and Greenwood Homes. We value their time and commitment to the local real estate market as they support both our association, realtors, and our clients. At this time, we'd like to welcome Julia Roberts from Fulton Mortgage Company to show her camera and share a few words.
I don't think I have a camera, but I'm here. Good morning to everyone. Thanks for being here. And I do have my hate letter in the mail to the groundhog, just so you know. I have a house full of kids that aren't going to school again. But other than that, I'm here. I'm happy to be a part of CAR again this year and support whatever we can do to help you guys have a successful 2025 and hope to see you all soon in person.
Thank you so much, Julia. We really appreciate the partnership, and thank you guys for your support from Fulton Mortgage as well. So before I continue with our agenda, I want to acknowledge the month of February is Black History Month. Black History Month is a time for Americans to learn about much of our nation's rich history that sadly is often under-discussed or neglected. Please set aside time to learn about and honor this history, reading a book, listening to a podcast, visiting our local Jefferson School African American Heritage Center, or visit blackhistorymonth.gov and share and tell others how you honored Black History Month. As you may be aware, CAR is celebrating a tremendous milestone this year, our 100th anniversary. And to celebrate this tremendous milestone, CAR is rolling out a series of celebrations throughout the year. One fun way to participate in the celebration is to test your historical knowledge of CAR for a chance to win a $100 gift card, Amazon gift card. Simply answer the 3 trivia questions correctly and you'll be entered into the prize drawing. The February trivia game closes at midnight on Friday, February 28th. We are going to host 5 trivia opportunities throughout 2025. CAR's 100th anniversary is also being acknowledged during both local and state government sessions throughout the year. During the Realtor Day on the Hill in Richmond last month, both Senator Creigh Deeds and Delegate Amy Loeffler congratulated CAR on its milestone, as well as personally welcomed CAR members to stand at each House and Senate session to be officially recognized and thanks for their commitment. It was truly amazing recognition that I know I will never forget. It was amazing to be there. The state proclamations have been posted on both CAR's YouTube channel for you all to watch anytime. We will post the proclamations provided by all of the localities in our footprint, 5 counties and the city of Charlottesville, as they become available later this year. While it's important to celebrate our longstanding history, we also want to support the newly formed CAR Foundation. During each general membership meeting, we will ask that you please consider donating any amount to the CAR Foundation using the unique QR code on the screen or link in the chat. Each time you donate, you will be entered into a pool to win either free Realtor or affiliate local dues for 2026. The more times you donate to this anniversary campaign for the CAR Foundation, the better your chances are to win this amazing prize. The winner of the free membership will be drawn near the end of the year. Now, while the weather is getting us a little down, I have something that will cheer you up. We're going to do a centennial barbecue this summer. And to save the date right now is for June the 7th from 3 to 6 at Penn Park. We're going to have fantastic networking opportunities, exciting games, cornhole, bouncy house, face painting, barbecue, and treats. And this will be a free event, and registration will open soon. We thank you for all of our amazing sponsors who have stepped up to help support this amazing event for our association. Lastly, to reflect on CAR's past, present, and future, let's enjoy watching the first of a series of videos sharing precious moments of our members over the years. All right, we'll look forward to more of those, some great photos and more to come. Next, on behalf of CAR, I would like to recognize a member who has achieved 40 plus years of membership in the National Association of Realtors. This member has brought a valuable and lasting contribution to the real estate profession and to the community in which they practice. She is also a CAR past president. I would like to congratulate Carol Clark on this amazing achievement. Once the weather gets better, we will invite Carol to an intimate award ceremony where we will present her with a Realtor Emeritus certificate, an official letter of achievement, and a gold 40-year Emeritus label pin. Congratulations again, Carol. So what an amazing accomplishment. Transportation is a key topic for clients to consider when moving to their next location. We are fortunate to have a panel of experts and community leaders who will share current challenges and opportunities that are shaping our transportation infrastructure. At this time, I would like to welcome our moderator, Neil Williamson, Free Enterprise Forum President, to show his camera. In addition, I welcome the following panelists to show their camera. Lou Hatter, Virginia Department of Transportation Communications Manager. Christine Jacobs, Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission Executive Director, and Kevin McDermott, County of Albemarle Deputy Director of Planning. Neil, take it away.
Great. Thank you very much, Josh. Transportation is something that we think about every day. And as some of us over the last couple of days, thinking about a lot. And we're lucky to have a panel of folks that are not as well known as two are not as well known as the third, but it is not a snowstorm unless you hear from Lou Hatter. And we're lucky to have Lou along with us today. We also have Christine Jacobs, who is the chair of the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission. This is one of the under-known quantities in our region that is responsible for the federally mandated MPO. There'll be a lot of acronyms today. MPO is the Metropolitan Planning Organization that actually lives under the TJPDC umbrella. We also have Kevin McDermott, who's been a friend for a long time with Albemarle County. He was their transportation manager previously, and now is Deputy Director of Community Development. I'm going to ask each of them to provide a quick introduction so that they may understand, we can understand where they're coming from and what their job functions actually are. And then I have a series of questions that I hope will illuminate how these meetings that I get to go to, and trust me, you can come too, there are seats available, that these meetings have an impact on transportation. I shared with the car staff just the other day comments from Ned Galloway regarding the intersection of Hillsdale Drive and Greenbrier. Those are things that have been cooking for well over 5 years. So let me turn it over to our panel, and I'm going to turn first to, they're not saying boo, they're saying Lou, Mr. Lou Hatter.
Good morning, Neil. Thank you. I guess, yeah, we've gotten a lot of visibility in the last few days, gosh, the last month or so with all the winter weather. But VDOT's not just, here at VDOT, we talk about how snow is king, and that's certainly the case, but we're on the job every day. We have over 7,500 employees statewide who manage our 50-some thousand miles of road. Virginia has the third largest state-maintained highway system in the country, behind North Carolina and Texas. So we've got a lot of roads to take care of. And for my purposes, we are in the Culpeper District, which is the 9 counties along the Blue Ridge Mountains from Fauquier County in the north through Albemarle County in the east, and Albemarle County in the south, and extending east to Fluvanna and Louisa counties. So we have quite a large footprint. My duties, I'm part of the district executive staff. I'm responsible for communications, which is very broad. It's not just public communications. We also manage a lot of internal communications, logistics between sections. I do some speech writing and provide talking points to everyone from our district engineer all the way up through the commissioner and occasionally the Secretary of Transportation. During the events that we have just had, we're requested by the Virginia Department of Emergency Management to give them talking points twice a day, basically a situation update for what's happening in our area. So we do a lot, and it's really it's a 365 day a year job to handle all of it, from snow in the wintertime to hurricane season and mowing and everything in between. So it's a little bit of everything. I've been with VDOT just shy of 20 years. It'll be 20 years in April. And before that, I was a newspaper editor for newspapers that covered all 9 of the counties in the Culpeper District. I was a 20-year newspaper editor as well. So I've kind of seen things from both sides, if you will. So that's a thumbnail that I hope helps people understand.
That's very helpful, Lou. And the hurricane season, it is Virginia is a great place for weather.
Yes.
And moving on to Christine. Christine Jacobs and I have known each other over a dozen years, and she runs the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission. In that operation, there is also a transportation function and a lot of other things. I'm hoping Christine can illuminate what the TJPDC does for transportation in her introduction.
Sure. I'm Executive Director of Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission. For those of you that don't know, the PDC is a regional planning body that supports all of our member jurisdictions. And so that's the footprint of the counties of Albemarle, Fluvanna, Greene, Louisa, and Nelson, and the city of Charlottesville. We are a political subdivision of the state, so we are technically a regional government. There are 21 planning district commissions in the Commonwealth. We're Planning District 10. In addition to transportation, which we'll talk a lot about today, we also do programming in the region around housing, legislative services, environmental planning. We do economic development, broadband expansion. So we have a broad swath of regional services. You know, our mission is to serve our local governments. Ultimately, that's what we're here for, is to be extensions of their own staff. As far as transportation planning, we do staff our Metropolitan Planning Organization, like Neil said. That's a forum that's designed for conducting what's called continuous, comprehensive, and coordinated decision-making. It's the 3 C's, and it's in partnership with local, state, and federal partners. So Charlottesville and Albemarle, UVA, the transit providers, CAT and JAUNT, and then state partners, VDOT, DRPT, and then federal partners, FHWA and FTA, all acronyms, which I'm happy to spell out as we discuss more. But in addition to our MPO, we also have a Rural Transportation Advisory Committee. We have a Regional Transit Partnership. We manage our region's rideshare program, which is the Commuter Assistance Program, trying to reduce single occupancy vehicle travel. And then we also have a mobility management program helping seniors and folks with disabilities gain mobility options. Our transportation funding comes from local, state, and federal sources, but we also get a little bit of money from private foundations and private grants when we're looking to do things that are outside of the scope of the state and federal funding. And then we also administer large federal grants. Currently, we're managing a Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, which is a U.S. Department of Transportation discretionary grant that's going to help us develop a comprehensive safety action plan for each of the localities within the planning district. I've been with the PDC since 2018. I've been in my current role since 2021, and I'm really happy to be here with you all today to talk about transportation. It's something we talk a lot about in our organization.
Great. Thank you very much, Christine.
My pleasure.
Next up is Kevin McDermott. And one of the interesting things about Kevin, who I've known for some time, is to take a walk not in the local area with Kevin. We had the opportunity with the chamber to go to Greenville, South Carolina, and examine other transportation challenges and how other localities are doing it. So I'm going to just turn it over to Kevin for a quick introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Kevin McDermott, I'm the Deputy Director of Planning here at Albemarle County. And as Neil also mentioned, I used to be the Transportation Planning Manager. So the Planning Division has a group within it that does transportation planning for the county. And the areas that we really work on, that we primarily are visible through, are development review projects. So anytime, and I know that, I'm speaking to realtors here, so you have seen this before, but when new development is happening, they have to submit those plans to the county, and our transportation function reviews those plans to make sure that they're addressing any transportation issues that we think might arise from that, and also meeting all of our codes, and including VDOT road design codes, things like that. So one of the primary things is just reviewing and making sure that development is happening in a safe and reasonable way. Another area that we work on a lot is in grant funding or funding for all transportation. We are the primary body that submits grants to the state for new transportation projects. There's a couple different programs that we utilize heavily, including Smart Scale, which is the largest state program for transportation funding, and then also one called Revenue Sharing, in which the local entity and the state share revenues to fund transportation projects on a 50-50 split. The other areas that we also work on is our long-range planning. So currently, Albemarle County is going through a long-range planning process that it's called AC 44, looking out 20 years and what the county may look like in 20 years. Is a big part of that. What we're doing is we're looking at how transportation changes, how development is occurring in the county, and trying to think out 20 years and imagine what are going to be our transportation needs over that time. So we are making recommendations through that AC 44 plan. And then we also do other small area plans that look out sometimes as long as 20 years, sometimes more short range. We do a lot of short range studies for intersections and corridors to try and make improvements in areas. And then we're also a liaison with our other partners like Lou Hatter at VDOT and Christine Jacobs at the TJPDC. We actually sit on a lot of those panels that Christine mentioned, the Charlottesville Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, the Regional Transit Advisory Group, and the Rural Planning Transportation Planning Group. So those are some other areas that we work in heavily.
Well, that's great. As we say, we've got the full billet of transportation covered. Kevin's planning roads 20 years down the road, and Lou's trying to clear the roads that we have today. To start off our questions, Christine, you mentioned the aptly named Transportation Advisory rather than authority. Your region has a variety of levels of transit availability. How does transit and rideshare factor into TJPDC's visioning for transportation planning?
Great question. The PDC's vision for sure is one where we support our member localities in advancing coordinated transportation options. Like you said, right now we have the Regional Transit Partnership that is an advisory body. But what's really unique about our area to some that are similar in our size with university is we have 3 different transit operators. We've got CAT, we've got JAUNT, and we've got the university's UTS, University Transit Service. And while they share overlapping service areas, they serve distinct populations. And they're all 3 critical pieces to our, comprehensive transportation system within the region. Our vision really for transportation planning when it comes to things like transit and rideshare and mobility management is just a coordinated system where folks have different options for their own mobility, whether that's driving a vehicle, taking a bus, riding a bike, car ride sharing with someone else. It's really, we want to make sure that folks have the options that they have for the different needs that they have. The MPO serves the urbanized portion of our PDC, but the rural areas also have varied transportation needs. Not everybody can or wants to jump in a car to drive to their work or to get to a doctor's appointment. So we're here to help coordinate. As the PDC and the MPO, we see ourselves as conveners and facilitators, bringing folks to the table to have discussions on how to improve options for folks. Right now, we have Regional Transit Partnership, but there is enabling legislation that allows us to have a Regional Transit Authority. That was enabled back early 2009. However, there was no dedicated revenue associated with that authority. And so there was a lot of work in the region that needed to be done in order to work well together, to coordinate, to cooperate, to share plans. And so the regional partnership was formed in order to get us to the point where we can enable the authority. And so that actually is their first meeting of the authority is this month. It'll be an organizational meeting bringing together decision makers in the city and the county, and then some other non-voting members to start talking about advancing some regional priorities that we have for expanding and improving our transit services.
Christine, there was some discussion of including outlying counties in that authority. Could you address where that is at this point?
Yeah, we've been keeping our rural jurisdictions apprised of everything that we're doing. I think right now there is still a desire in some of our rural areas to better define the need, to better understand what it is that their residents need, want, would use if it were available. So I don't know that they're really at a place where they're interested in joining an authority. I think they want to allow, and the legislation right now has the city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County as the initial members. And so they can be brought into the authority as we begin to see progress and things happen. I think those conversations will continue into the future, but as of right now, we don't have a strong desire from them to join a formal authority.
Thank you. Lou, I have a question with regard to project fundings. You were a part of the team that worked on Route 29 Solutions, which really was one of the first big funding for about a decade. We went without significant transportation project funding. Can you explain why that occurred, and how we're positioned now, as well as where the 29 Solutions that where a number of projects sit today and what you think their effectiveness is?
Sure. Well, we have to look back, gosh, close to probably 15, 16 years to think about where 29 Solutions came from. It's actually closer to 20 maybe now. Time flies. Where it grew out of the ashes, if you will, of the 29 bypass proposal. It was something that was funded. This area did not fare particularly well under the old VDOT funding formula because so much more of the money went to the more urban areas, the more developed areas. The transportation needs that we have in this area, no matter how much we think they're critical, they in the minds of a lot of other people, they pale in comparison to the needs in some of the more developed areas. And so a good bit of the money that was available for transportation was going to those more urban areas, Northern Virginia, Hampton Roads, Richmond. And that's not just true of Charlottesville, that's true of lesser populated areas around the state. But back in about a decade ago, there was a new funding formula called Smart Scale that was developed. And it blew up the old way of allocating money and put in place a set of criteria and a scoring system for evaluating projects. And it takes into account congestion, economic development, safety. There's a variety of factors that each project is scored on. And then that score is applied against the developed cost of the project. And that creates a score for each one of the applications. And the projects are awarded based on the scores on those applications. The other thing that's really important to know about the Smart Scale process is the project applications are developed by the localities. So rather than VDOT saying, hey, these are the projects that we think need to be built, we work with the localities, and the localities to select the priorities for the projects that they think should be pursued. And then VDOT provides technical assistance in developing the applications and trying to make sure we cover all the bases. We have engineers who can work with them too to make sure that we've got good designs, that we've answered all the potential questions that might be asked about the applications. The 29 Solutions suite of projects, which, as you know, was 8 different total projects, including a rail project, was one of the last ones that was funded under the old system. And we're talking about almost $250 million worth of transportation improvements in the Albemarle County and Charlottesville area. And the one that people usually think about is that grade separated intersection at Rio Road. But we also have Berkmar Drive Extended, which goes from Sam's Club, Hilton Heights, all the way out to almost to Airport Road. And we're looking at Albemarle County is working on a project to make that final connection through to Airport Road. Hillsdale, it was extended as well, and several other improvements. But I think that the one thing that speaks to the success of that project is when we did Berkmar Extended, there were some people who said, oh, nobody's going to use that road. We were estimating that we'd have about 5,000 vehicles per day using that road. Most recent traffic counts are 9,800 vehicles per day. And anytime you drive that road, and I drive that road a lot because I live up in Greene County, so I come in north from Charlottesville, I drive that road a lot. And there's always people walking, biking, rollerblading. There's just about every, planes flying overhead. I haven't seen any trains, but just about every other mode of transportation you could think of is using that road. So that's been a real success. And one of the anecdotal stories I heard from someone was that, Crutchfield is out near the airport, and that road and some of the other multimodal improvements that have been made mean that people who work out at Crutchfield can now ride their bikes from the city out to Crutchfield, and they have a dedicated bike lane or a multi-use path for almost the entire distance from the city of Charlottesville all the way out to their headquarters at the airport. And Christine talked about giving people choices in transportation. That's a great example of of how that works. And the partnership that was put together between VDOT and our local governments and the MPO, TJPDC, and the community partners, the community that supported that. It's just a great success story, I think.
Yeah, we're seeing the last of the projects that are under construction right there now, just north of Hydraulic Road. Can you speak a little bit about that project?
Sure. Well, that is another suite of projects, and I'll put in a plug for our folks here in the Culpeper District. The 29 Solutions package was the first one that was called what we call design build, meaning that it used to be there's design bid build and there's design build without getting too deep in the weeds. The uh, the traditional way of doing a project is we design it and we put it out for bid for construction. Design build means that we provide a concept and basic outline of how we want the project built, and then we invite typically consortia of engineering firms and construction firms to bid on the project. They do the final design and then they build the project. 29 Solutions and also the hydraulic suite of projects were two of the first in the state that used the concept of taking those design build projects and packaging projects in different locations into one contract. So we had a larger contract, larger money, and more opportunity for larger firms to bid. The other thing is that when you have multiple projects, as some of your folks I'm sure know who are working in development, the projects can progress. You start on project A and the clearing crew comes in, they do their work. Then the next phase comes through, and meanwhile the clearing crew moves on to the next project. So you get an efficiency of scale and the resources available. So the hydraulic project, we had some improvements at Hillsdale and Hydraulic. We put in a roundabout there last summer, which was extremely successful. The contractor had a very tight time frame to do it while school was out, and they beat that by about 2 weeks, and we opened it, and that seems to be working well. We made some improvements on access at Greenbrier and the 250 bypass turning onto Hydraulic, and the last piece of that project is a pedestrian bridge across 29 from basically Stonefield over to Seminole Square. And that project's under construction. It'll be done later this year. You can see that anytime you go down there, you see the bridge piers rising up out of the dirt there and in the median strip. They'll be in the coming months. They'll be doing some slow rolls on traffic while we put the actual girders across the road to support that bridge. So that's another one that has provided a lot of improvements. And what we see is that traffic is moving more efficiently. And that's what it's all about, is trying to help people move efficiently and safely on our highway system. Does that answer your question?
It does. It does. We could talk about a bunch of projects, and we will get to a couple others, even just right in that area. But we have a large footprint we're trying to cover. Kevin, my next question goes to you, and it wouldn't be a session with the Free Enterprise Forum if growth management didn't come up. So Albemarle County's growth management plan restricts growth outside of the 5% development areas. Rural areas make up over 95%. High density development is promoted, not always approved, but promoted in the development areas. Given the transportation demands are higher in the development areas, does Albemarle's transportation infrastructure spending reflect an inverse to this relationship, i.e. 95% of your dollars are going to the development area?
Yeah, thanks, Neil. Great question. And just for the background for everyone on the call, in Albemarle County, we have development areas where we try and drive growth to, and we do that primarily through zoning. So we allow fewer uses and less density outside of those development areas. Those development areas really surround the city. They include everything south of the city and south of the interstate down to Biscuit Run along Avon Street Extended and Fifth Street Extended. It goes up north almost to the Greene County line along surrounding Route 29. And then there's two areas that are separated from that primary growth area, which include the Crozet area and the village of Rivanna. So what we've done is we've increased the recommended future density and allowable uses in those areas, and restricted it in the others to try and keep growth into these smaller areas. I would say that the inverse of the 95 to 5% rule is definitely true with transportation funding. I would say it's probably even goes beyond that. I would say it's probably more like 98% of all of our transportation dollars go to the development areas. And part of the reason for that is that the other way we're controlling growth in those rural areas is that we promote the idea that people should expect less services out there. So the roads are usually rural ditch sections. We don't do pedestrian projects typically in the rural area. And our only real focus in the rural area for transportation improvements are safety. So when we identify a significant safety issue in the rural area, that is something that we will go after. In the 8 years that I've been in Albemarle County, I can only think of two major projects that we've done in the rural area. Both happen to be roundabouts. One of them, I'm sure everyone has driven through, is at 250 and 151, that big roundabout there. That was a major smart scale project. And then the other one is another roundabout that is up on Route 20 near where Prophet Road intersects Route 20. So both of those were places where we were seeing really high levels of crashes, and we wanted to address that problem. So those are the only two significant projects I can think of outside of the development areas. Whereas besides 29 Solutions, there have been hundreds of millions of dollars worth of projects, both pedestrian projects, transit projects, road improvement projects, all that have gone in within the development area.
Well, to follow up on that, when I look at VDOT does a regular report to the Board of Supervisors, and a report that's going to be presented next week to the Board of Supervisors has a list of Albemarle Design Build projects number 2 that have been awarded in right-of-way plans, and they are John Warner Parkway, Rio Road Roundabout, Belvedere Green T, the Route 53, Route 20 Roundabout, 5th Street Old Lynchburg Road Roundabout, Route 240, 250 Roundabout, and the Rio Browns Gap Turnpike Bridge replacement over Licking Hole Creek. That's a lot of roundabouts. Can you speak to the idea behind the safety idea, the planning idea behind these rotary roundabout, whatever you want to call them?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And I'll admit that I've been a big promoter of these roundabouts, but I'm not the only one. Part of the reason why you see a lot of roundabout projects being funded is that through the Smart Scale program, VDOT actually awards bonuses for what they call innovative intersections. So if you're looking to do a more innovative approach to address a problem, such as a roundabout, you tend to score higher in the Smart Scale program. So beyond that, they also typically are a little bit less expensive than most of the other types of intersection improvements that we can make, especially if you have to do grade separation to address problems. But I'll say that some of the reasons why I love them so much are because, one, they slow traffic down, and then two, they also keep traffic moving. I even remember years ago, I saw a Mythbusters show where they actually got a whole bunch of cars and they built a roundabout and then they built a typical signalized intersection and they timed how many cars they could get through in a certain period. And it showed that roundabouts just improved efficiency so much higher. Now, I know that was in a controlled setting, but I think it still speaks to that idea that you can really process a lot of vehicles in a roundabout. And then we deal with accidents at intersections. So I think people would be surprised to know that most of our accidents occur at signalized intersections in the county. So you get a lot of intersection rear ends there and people trying to speed through them and missing lights. And so you get T-bone accidents. Signalized intersections tend to be very unsafe. And what we see with roundabouts is that they reduce the severity and the rate of accidents. And then finally, the idea that because they slow traffic down, what they're really doing is allowing pedestrians to cross more safely. So when vehicles slow down, they notice pedestrians more. They give pedestrians more opportunities to cross. They'll yield to pedestrians. Whereas at signals, what you typically have is that vehicles are constantly flying through there, trying to get through a green light. And then when they get a red light, some people may try and make it through the red light despite it turning red. You may have pedestrians trying to cross at that time, or you may have pedestrians that are trying to get across because they had to wait too long while traffic had a green light, and so they try and beat traffic. And so we tend to see a lot of safety issues with signalized intersections for pedestrians. And so those are some of the reasons why I think that that roundabouts are really working well.
Oh, Kevin, I appreciate your direct answer about roundabouts. Christine, if I could ask you, many folks don't realize that the MPO has the ability and regularly does submit projects to SmartScale. We have been through several rounds of the biennial SmartScale application, SmartScale being the funding mechanism for transportation projects through the Virginia Department of Transportation. How do you grade the SmartScale project, the SmartScale process? It's changed a lot over the iterations. Are we getting better projects? Are we getting better distribution of funds? It used to be that we had, 20 representatives in the House of Delegates from Fairfax County. So Fairfax County also has a lot of density and a lot of transportation issues. They used to get all the funding. I recall not so long ago in the SmartScale program, there was a need for a new tunnel and all the money went there. So how do you grade the SmartScale funding process?
That's a really good question, and especially since we are seeing new changes to the methodology this past round. There's been 6 rounds of SmartScale funding. There's been a distinct shift between the last round and this round of the number of projects that we're funding and the increased cost of those projects. I don't know if I can grade it so much as I can say, it's really important to understand the methodology and where projects, what the metrics are that they're scored against, that they're looking for, not just is it safe, but does it reduce congestion? Does it increase accessibility? Land use used to be a standalone score, and now that's no longer a standalone score. That's a multiplier. And so understanding how it's scored so that I hate to say this, but like playing the game, identifying projects that are our priorities, but also will be competitive within SmartScale is really important. The last few rounds, I'll speak back to round 4, there were 167 projects funded in the Commonwealth. Round 5, there were 164 projects funded. This previous round, there were 53. So there's a distinct difference in the number of projects, but also the average funding requests. Those projects are larger in size, in scope and scale, and that's by design. There were a lot of larger projects that weren't getting funded because they weren't competitive in the existing scoring methodology. And Lou can speak to this way more than I can. What's really interesting, I think, in this upcoming round is the Culpeper District submitted, I believe it was 24 applications throughout the entire district. and 4 projects were funded. And so I think it's going to be really important moving forward to really pay attention to how the distribution of funding is changing under this new scoring method. And, they redefined that the PDC can submit 4 applications, the MPO can submit 4 applications, but we're only eligible for one of the 2 funding pools. There's a district grant program, and then there's a high priority project program. And that's the one where we can submit projects to. So of the 4 projects, the MPO actually is recommended for funding. The staff recommendation is for funding. It still needs to go through the Commonwealth Transportation Board. But I think we're going to really want to pay attention to areas that have transportation authorities that are leveraging local funding, and can they be bringing down the cost of their projects so their benefit scores change and make them more competitive. I just think it's going to take more analysis over a couple of years of seeing this new methodology in place to say, is it better than it was, or is it just different than it was, not better or worse?
Well, one of the things that is the mystery to the general public is the number of different buckets that you have to chase to provide transportation funding. It was a revelation to me probably 15 years ago that bridges have their own bucket. And the idea that a bridge is not part of the transportation network is not what that says, but it is an infrastructure piece that is different than a road. So it is a challenging bureaucracy. And I agree with you. I find SmartScale, all the rounds that we've been through, to be quite the game. It's a game of chess and making your application as attractive as possible. Turning over to Lou. Lou, you've been at this a while. I think you're pushing 20 years now at VDOT. What's your favorite transportation improvement over that time?
Oh gosh. I think I'm biased because I was detailed as the communications manager for the 29 Solutions projects, and I would have to say those were my favorite. That was the first time I'd ever been part of a project team. I worked out of the field office, so I was out there every day. I saw those projects from the time that they were just blueprints and to when we did the ribbon cutting, when Governor McAuliffe came up for the Burkmar Drive ribbon cutting, but not so much just that, but I mean, I really, honest to goodness, I think those projects have made a real difference in the mobility of traffic along 29. I sometimes, just for grins, I put my destination in my GPS as I'm headed into town, and it used to be that before 29 Solutions, the recommended fastest route was never 29. And now it's almost always 29 to Hydraulic Road and then over to the VDOT office over on Pantops. I think the grade separated intersection made a difference. I think widening 29 made a difference. The parallel roads for local traffic, Hillsdale extended and running Burkmar out as far as we did and getting ready to, when we make that connection to Airport Road, the county has already built the piece that goes all the way up through the North Fork Research Park. So you have an alternative. So it's taking some of that traffic off 29, and it's largely local traffic, and it's a very pleasant road to drive. So I think those projects are really, really neat. We've done a lot of different things. The diverging diamond that we did out at Zion Crossroads was the first one in Virginia. And people poo-pooed that. And now it's something that's being done all over the state because we can take the existing bridges and repurpose the way the traffic flows over those existing bridges and through that existing interchange. And instead of having to rebuild it as a cloverleaf interchange that in these days costs north of $100 million, probably by the time you talk about right-of-way costs and construction, we built the one at Zion for, I think it was $7 million, because basically it was a matter of redoing the way the roads flowed, but the bridges could be used as is. The same thing out at Pantops. So, I think the innovation of how we're dealing with projects, the design build packages that we've done, Culpeper District, as I said, that we did the first ones. So, we talk about little old Culpeper district. There's a lot of VDOT districts that are a lot bigger than us. We're one of the smallest, but we have a great group of people here. And it's a privilege for me to work with those folks every day. They're great. They're dedicated. They're on, as I said, it's 24/7, and I'm not just kidding. They really are. So it's hard to pick a favorite one, but there's a few of the highlights for sure.
Well, and for those that, most folks don't know, Lou also was using the shoe leather during the 29 Solutions and literally knocked on every business's door to keep them apprised of what was going on and how VDOT was there to help them through the process. It was a Herculean effort. Kevin, oddball question for you. Transportation planning is not only about cars. Can you speak a little bit about what Albemarle County is doing for multimodal transportation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that within our development area, multimodal transportation is our highest priority. We recognize that in the dense area surrounding Charlottesville, we can't build roads big enough to handle all the traffic that we expect to be on them. So we have to come up with other ways to get people around. And I think that what we're seeing nowadays is that people appreciate being able to walk or bike and even take transit to destinations that they have. So we have really been focusing a lot of our efforts on getting those new sidewalks and shared use paths and transit facilities in the urban ring. So some of the things that you see with that include projects that we do through revenue sharing, which, as I mentioned, is the program that we put in half the cost of a project and the state would put in half, and then we go through and build that. We've got a number of projects right now going on, including significant extension of sidewalk network in the around the Commonwealth Drive area. So this is kind of behind Stonefield, in between 29 and Hydraulic. We've got a large extension of the sidewalk network in there. We're extending that shared use path that Lou mentioned, that currently is part of the Hillsdale project going down to Hilton Heights Road. We're extending that down to Woodbrook through a revenue sharing grant. So we recognize that people want to get around in other methods. And so we're trying to promote that. And really, those are the primary projects we are going for in our development areas right now.
Well, I appreciate that answer. And I think the idea of multimodal is something we're seeing more and more. In the few minutes we have left, Christine, I'd like for you to address, if you can, how you think during COVID and post-COVID, we've seen transportation numbers shift. I compare it to when the federal government in the DC market instituted flex time. You started seeing the rush hour start at 4 a.m. and then start again at 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. because people were working from 5 to 2, 6 to 2, or whatever it was. With so many people working from home, as many are doing this morning, do you see significant changes in transportation planning as you're looking 20 years in the advance? And 20 years ago, I don't think I'd be looking at myself on a screen talking to you.
Yeah, there's definitely a shift in how people are working remotely and flexing time. Our long range planning has to include visions for more mass transit, in our opinion. That's not necessarily like a personal opinion. That is providing options for more people to be in less vehicles so that our roadways are not congested, so that it's safer. We see, and Kevin, to some of your multimodal stuff, we see MicroCat has been wildly successful in Albemarle County, the pilot program of on demand. And I think one of the goals of the Regional Transit Authority is going to have to really look at what are the available revenue sources, what are options that we have for bringing in more money in order to increase and improve, the transit options in our area. But separate from transit, which just happens to be, something that we're really passionate about here. I think the shifts in how people are using the roadways don't dramatically shift how we plan for those roadways. We still have folks that are going to be going up and down 29 and across 64 and coming in from outside areas into the urban areas for employment and in the reverse. So I don't know that our long range planning has shifted that much yet with the changes in how people are commuting.
Well, I will say that the one thing that hasn't changed for me is correcting elected officials from a variety of places, usually from the Albemarle County Dais, who suggest a light rail program would work great in Albemarle County. I refer you to the blog, the Free Enterprise Forum blog, where the siren song of light rail, which I wrote over 15 years ago. Transit doesn't have to be rail, light rail specifically. I've traveled the country looking at light rail programs where the stations were placed in the wrong place. If you put a bus stop in the wrong place, you change the route. It's very hard to change the route on a light rail. That's a bit of an opinion for the Free Enterprise Forum. I know that there are some suggestions of additional regional transit. We would say that the best way for transit to happen is for it to go from someplace where a lot of people live to someplace where a lot of people work, and to do so efficiently. It's the barbell method. But I regret that we're out of time. If we were together in public, we would all stand and clap, because our panelists did a great job answering what were not challenging questions, I would say. But I want to thank you all from CAR. And if anyone has questions that I didn't get to, feel free to email me, neil@freeenterpriseforum.org, and I'll be happy to steer those questions to these professionals or others that can answer them. Thank you all for your participation today.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Christine, Kevin, and Lou. We appreciate you guys being here, and for Neil moderating. Great work as always. Great updates to share with our clients as always. So as realtors, we definitely need to keep a pulse on what's happening in our market's footprint. And today we're fortunate enough to have Andy Wade, the Louisa County Economic Director, with us to share an economic update. Andy's presentation will be available in next week's news group issue. Andy, take it away.
All right. Can you guys see me and hear me?
Yes.
Good. So you get the panoramic view of the room I'm sitting in, because we use the OWL. If you guys haven't used the OWL, you need to check out the OWL. It's a speaker camera combo. So anyway, before I get started, just want to give a shout out to CAR. I get the quarterly report. I'm not sure I'm supposed to get the quarterly report because I'm not a member, but I get that report and I share it with my board, and it's a lot of great information in there that we use periodically, just to gauge, real estate development and sales in the county. I do have a suggestion in the form of a question, if it's possible. In that report, there's a lot of great information, easy to deduce. Is it possible to carve out new home sales versus existing home sales? I don't need an answer now. Somebody can answer it later. But essentially, if the information that CAR gets when compiling the report, if it's possible to put in there, sales that are new homes versus sales that are existing homes, that would be great information. We obviously track building permits locally, but we don't know when those sales occur throughout the years or quarters. So anyway, just wanted to drop that, and if that's possible, that would be great to see. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about population growth. This is a map from the end of 2023. I've not yet seen the 2024 numbers. As you can see, Louisa County is the fourth fastest growing county in the state at the end of 2023. I think that's a step below where we were the two previous years when we were third. I think based on what I'm seeing and hearing, that we might drop even further based on the 2024 numbers. I think the interest rates are catching up with people. I'm sure you guys are feeling the impacts of the interest rates, and those are real. So anyway, you can see that kind of the metro area of Richmond is really where a lot of the growth is occurring. The population growth is occurring, and we're right in the middle of that. Next slide, please. So this is net migration. We kind of fall in the Richmond category there. Louisa County is not in an MSA. I think we're one of few counties in the state that is not represented by an MSA. So we're not in Charlottesville or Richmond's MSA, but we fall in this Richmond category here. One thing, and it's not unique to Louisa either, is our death rate in the county continues to outpace our birth rate in the county. So the population growth that you are seeing or that we're experiencing is 100% due to net migration into the county from those outside of the county. Next slide, please. As you can see here, at the end of 2023, or from 2020 to 2023, we grew over 4% in net in migration. And again, that metro area around Richmond is really where we're seeing a lot of the growth. And while Louisa is good value, it's still relatively cheap to live here from a tax standpoint. We have great schools, and it's easily accessible to 3 really metropolitan areas in Charlottesville, Richmond, and the Fredericksburg market. I have a great board here, board of supervisors. I have a conservative board here. And, one of the ways that you can curtail growth is to make it more expensive to live somewhere. But when you have a conservative board, making it more expensive means you raise taxes, and those two don't jive when your board members that want to curtail growth are also the conservative board members. So, we're in a dilemma, but, living in Louisa is a great value, compared to other localities in the region. And it's just something we have to manage on an annual basis. And, make no mistake that new residential growth certainly does not pay for the cost of services that the locality provides to its citizens. And where we make up that difference is in new commercial and industrial growth throughout the county. Next slide, please. So I want to talk about the technology overlay district. We talked a little bit, or the previous panel talked a little bit about planning, and Neil is blogs about planning all the time, and I certainly hope he thinks this is good planning on the county's part. But we established a technology overlay district in Louisa County. We foresaw a lot of tech sector businesses that were concentrated in Northern Virginia were going to expand outside of Northern Virginia. And what we did as a locality is we identified 6 sites, within the county to really attract technology-based businesses, data centers being primary target for us. Through this process, we located these 6 sites you see on this map. We made sure these sites had adequate access to high transmission power lines, 230 kV and above, had adequate access to good road infrastructure, and access to public utilities, water and sewer utilities specifically. The technology overlay district is what it says. It's an overlay of the existing zoning. So when we approach property owners to overlay their existing property with this TOD, is what we call it for short, the TOD is only invoked when a permitted use within the technology overlay district zoning ordinance locates on that property. So what that means for the underlying property owner is if it's an A2 cattle farm or A2 just timber forest or something of that nature, until a permitted use in the technology overlay district lands on that property, which the property owner controls 100%, they have to make the sale. They still get the benefit of land use tax. They still get the benefit of using the property as they always have. And it's only, as I mentioned, only invoked when a permitted use in the technology overlay district lands on that property. The 2 circles you see there well, let me back up. As a result of implementing this technology overlay district, most of you have heard, we were able to land a deal with AWS, Amazon Web Services, with $11 billion capital investment in Louisa County. Those two technology overlay districts that are circled, bubbled on the map, are AWS campuses in Louisa County. The one to the right, upper right corner, is near Lake Anna, near the North Anna Power Station. The one in the bottom is off of Route 33 in the center of the county, near adequate water source, power, things of that nature. The red line you see kind of cutting through the county is a 230 kV line. The blue line to the bottom right-hand side is a 500 kV line that goes through our Gum Spring exit in the eastern end of the county. Next slide, please. This is just the master plan of the Lake Anna Technology Campus for AWS. This project is well underway. The snow's thrown them curveballs, the site development for the last 30 days. But they have been able to clear the site. They've already started pouring footers on the first building, which is the building you see up in the top left-hand corner, not the small one, but the larger building. That's a single-story data center. The rest of the buildings you see on this site will be two-story, roughly 255,000 square foot data center buildings. There's roughly 1.5 million square feet of data center buildings on this site. That first building they've poured the footers for should be completed by the end of this year, with building 2, 3, 4, close on the heels of those. One thing you may have seen in the news also is, these are obviously huge power users, and AWS and Dominion Energy partnered on an announcement late last year on the development of a small modular reactor on the North Anna Power Station property. That's a new technology, a new generation power generation source that's everybody is really excited about in the power generation business. It has to go through the red tape of the NRC. They're deployed all over the world, so you would think it'd be easier to accomplish and develop a small modular reactor, but nevertheless, if it comes to fruition, we're looking at early 2030s for that to come online and be commissioned. That's roughly a 300 megawatt reactor power generator. And the good thing about small modular reactors is the footprint it takes to develop one of those is about, on the high end, 70 acres, and it can be as little as 50 acres. If you look at North Anna Power Station, they have 2 nuclear reactors there on a 1,500 acre campus. So there's plenty of room to site this first one and potentially multiple more small modular reactors on that site. Next slide, please. So this is the campus on the Route 33 that I'm in the center part of the county. You can see through the top there, that's Northeast Creek Reservoir. That is a water source for cooling. These data centers use water for cooling. Some use air for cooling. The difference is the power output that each, or input that each data center building needs, depending on the cooling type. Water uses less power, air uses more. The perfect squares that you can see on this site are substation locations. Each one of those represents a 300 megawatt substation. The first phase of this campus is in the top of the campus. It parallels, adjoins Route 33. So you can see 300 megawatt substations that are going to serve 10 data center buildings in that phase 1, campus 1 development. This project is going through the site plan approval process, working with outside agencies to get this permitted, and we fully expect the site work to commence on this site toward the end of this calendar year. So that is a massive site. It's about 1,400 acres. The Lake Anna Tech campus is about 150 acres. So you can just see the sheer size difference between the two campuses. At full build out, this campus should be done or fully built out probably in the 2038, 2040 timeframe is what our projections are. You know, that $11 billion, we have a lot of reasons to believe that number is relatively low. We have reasons to think it's going to be much, much higher than that when it's all said and done. So, and next slide, please. And as you can imagine, with data center development comes a lot, you know, the need for infrastructure. So what the county is doing is we're connecting both campuses with the raw water source. That dashed yellow line that you see is a new raw water main that we're building from Northeast Creek Reservoir to serve the Lake Anna Tech campus. And it will also serve the Northeast Creek Tech campus. When it's all said and done, the water line, the new raw water pump station, and a couple other pump stations that we're building for AWS, that project's going to probably be north of $100 million. That project is well underway in the design phase. We expect to start construction on that raw water main this summer. You can see it's kind of a funky shaped line, but what we did there is we followed, if you recall the TOD map, we followed the red line, which is the 230 kV transmission line. So we're actually putting the water line within the Dominion right of way for their 230 kV transmission line. And we did that because it minimizes impacts to the underlying landowner, and it takes advantage of what we characterize as an existing utility corridor. So again, what we think is good planning, and because it's within the existing transmission line easement, we're not taking up any space or usable space from the property owners, and we still have to acquire easements from those property owners. Next slide, please. So it's important to you folks as you're selling properties, you know, in whatever county you sell them in, you know, broadband is an important initiative. This is just a map of the Firefly project, in partnership with Central Virginia Electric Co-op. You can see Louisa, Fluvanna, Buckingham, Orange. Oh, actually, Orange is not in this. Orange did their own initiative, so they're running their own fiber program. But anyway, you can see the region as a whole. Next slide, please. This is Louisa. The projects in Louisa should be completed by the end of 2026. CVEC still has a take rate north of 60%, which is great. I think they projected a 30% take rate, but this is really, really affordable broadband coverage. I think for the 100 megabytes, it might be $50 a month, and you get a terabyte for $100 a month or something like that. So it's really, really affordable. And at the end, the entirety of Louisa County, every road in Louisa County will be covered with have coverage through the Firefly broadband project. Louisa County invested about $10 million in this project from the onset, and that's the purple sections up there. What you see in purple is really where that money has been put to use. The rest is comes from the power companies. It's a partnership with CVEC, Dominion, and REC, where they're using a lot of the existing power infrastructure, so that they can hang fiber lines off of power poles and within the existing right of ways and easements and things of that nature. So purple is Louisa money, and the rest is through VATI grants, which is the Virginia. I can't remember what the acronym stands for. A technology initiative. And then RISE is the regional internet service expansion. So anyway, we're well underway, and this should be completed, fully serviced by the county, fully serviced by the end of 2026. Next slide, please. So now we'll jump into schools. This is a rendering of the Louisa County Career and Technical Education Center. This is a new facility that's going to be built on the campus of Louisa County High School. We've got a lot going on in the county. We've always had a CTE program, pretty robust, offering minimal options for students, but as we build this new facility, those options are going to expand to different areas of expertise and certifications that not only students at the high school will have the opportunity to participate in, but we're also going to incorporate adult education, nighttime classes for adults that are thinking about a career change, or just want to have another tool in the toolbox, if you will. But this project should be, bids are getting ready to be released for the construction, and we anticipate this facility to be up and operational in time for classes to start in August of 2027. Next slide, please. Just gives you the location of the CTE Center. It's right. That's the Louisa County High School there. It's right out in front. Architecture will match the new high school architecture. We'll add new parking. It's about a 40,000 square foot building, one level. Some of the different classes do have a mezzanine within their space, so they can observe. Teachers, instructors can observe from above. Next slide, please. This is the layout, building plan, and the course offerings for the CTE Center. I won't roll through them all, but I'll give you guys a chance to look at them while I talk. Got some flex space in here. Really, the whole building's being designed to be flexible in the event that we need to change out a course offering years down the road. We can easily adapt the space within the building to incorporate the new program and phase out an older program. Front side of the building, we have a preschool incorporated into the school system. Traditionally, it's for, we call it the Little Lions, but traditionally it's for school teachers that have young children, so they can, the school provides daycare at a fraction of the cost that they would have to pay elsewhere. And that's just a program that was introduced maybe within the last 4 or 5 years. Very, very popular. I think the wait list is through the roof, and you can imagine why. But nevertheless, a lot of good program offerings here. And we're really excited to expand upon the CTE program in Louisa County, and AWS has really driven a lot of the new course offerings that we're going to offer in the future, and they're helping to fund some of those as well. Next slide, please. I just threw this up. Our schools are really about continuity and collaboration, and the building, the CTE Center was going to be separate from the high school. The drive lane there you see is the school bus loop. So, to bring that continuity and connection into play, we decided to add a connector bridge from the high school to the CTE Center, covered. Weather related, what we'll do is we'll have to cannibalize one classroom in the existing high school, and that'll be the vestibule for the bridge. But anyway, just wanted to showcase that that's the connector. Metaphorically speaking, there's more to it than just a covered bridge, and the schools are really all about community connection, and that's what they're trying to showcase here. So next slide, please. So, and lastly, Louisa County's always had a general aviation airport. Hopefully there's some pilots in the room on the call. Recently, and this is hard to see, I apologize, but the Louisa County has recently taken ownership of the Louisa County Airport from the Industrial Development Authority. It was in the Industrial Development Authority's under their ownership since the early 80s, and we are taking over ownership of it. I think it streamlines more development improvements to the airport. When you own an airport, airports are easy to fund because typically, depending on the project, the local cost share might be 2 to 5%, and that's it. The rest of the funding comes from the Federal Aviation Administration and the Virginia Department of Aviation. So depending on what the project is, like for example, we want to extend the runway here. It's 4,300 linear feet now. We want it to get it to over 5,000 feet. And that's really to allow business class jets the opportunities to fly here. We want to expand hangar space at the airport. Right now, we have a 49 person wait list for hangar space at the airport, which is crazy. So we have a high demand to build new hangar space. The shaded areas you see on this airport layout plan are proposed new developments. There on the south side, that's additional hangar space, additional commercial hangar space. And the reason we need to get the 5,000 feet is it's not that business class jets cannot land on 4,300 feet. It's their insurance carriers will not allow them to land on anything less than 5,000 feet. If they do, they void their policy if something catastrophic were to happen. But nevertheless, we are just streamlining the process, taking an entity out of the middle of funding projects, airport improvement projects here at the Louisa County Airport. We get a lot of transient traffic here. We have some of the lowest fuel rates per gallon in the area, so a lot of net jets land here. We have a lot of military helicopters that do training exercises and refuel here. So we have big plans for the airport. We're going to make it more of a local driver of the economy than what it currently is. And it all starts with, building out more space and allowing more tenants and allowing higher class, business class jets to land here and actually be fixed-based aircraft at the Louisa County Airport. And that is all I have. Happy to answer any questions anyone may have about what's going on in Louisa. Anything you've heard that I didn't cover, happy to answer those as well.
Andy, there is a question. What percentage of Louisa County population currently works from home?
That is a good question. I don't know that answer, but I can tell you through, as a result of COVID, and this might be why some of our population is growing as well. Lake Anna historically was, I'd say 60-70% second homes. And that trend is slowly starting to level out. And I think what's happened is when a lot of people were working from home, they moved here permanently to Lake Anna, brought their families with them. And that, whereas before the owners of those homes might have been an older retired couple that was their lake home and they didn't live here permanently. So that might be a lot of why we see the population growth increasing as well. I don't know what that percentage is, and I'd be scared to guess at that, but I could run that down and send it to Teresa and she can share with the group.
Great, thank you.
Awesome job, Andy. Thanks so much for being here with us. It's exciting to see Louisa. I feel like anecdotally, this makes a lot of sense just with inventory and with what's happening over there. So it's great to kind of see some of the economic drivers, and appreciate your time and keeping us informed on new developments in Louisa. Next, I'd like to invite Dave Norris, who is our Carr Foundation Executive Director, to share an important update with us. Dave?
Well, good morning. It's great to be with you all. I'm trying to share my screen here and pull up my little presentation. But Carr Foundation, we are moving forward. We're making good progress. Thank you all for your continued support. Thank you, Carr, for your continued support. Just to give I know we're running a little short on time, so just to give a few updates on what's going on with the Carr Foundation. we have a number of board committees that are going strong. They're all meeting, they're all doing the work and putting in time and effort. Really pleased with the work that the board committees are doing. If any of you would like to join one of our board committees, we would be thrilled to have you. One exciting little piece of news is our Pat Jensen Leadership Academy at CAR, for its capstone projects for this year has chosen the CAR Foundation. And we're working hard with them to put together 3 different projects for the foundation, looking at how CAR can continue to get more involved in supporting affordable housing, workforce housing. So you'll definitely be hearing more about that in the weeks and months to come. Our new online housing resources guide is finally moving forward. We have a beta testing event coming up a little bit later this month. And that's a partnership with Charlottesville Tomorrow that will hopefully be going online very soon. It's taken a little bit longer than expected, but that's basically an online guide to all the affordable housing resources and programs in the community. We are also working to get our new homeownership navigators program off the ground. We'll be soliciting volunteers from within the CAR community and our affiliate community to serve as mentors and advocates for aspiring first-time home buyers. So that's going to be an exciting project. We'll be kicking off early this year. Just met recently with the city of Charlottesville. We're looking at what we can do, what the CAR Foundation can do to educate and empower property owners to take advantage of the city's new zoning code to expand the supply of affordable housing in our community. The first project there will be a manual that we're putting together now, just starting to put together on how property owners can add and finance the construction of accessory dwelling units, small apartments onto their homes so that they can create an affordable dwelling unit and also generate more income for themselves. So stay tuned for more information on that. And we continue to explore ways that we can support the the Piedmont Community Land Trust, PCLT. We've got some meetings going on about that. So this is just a taste of what the foundation has been doing. Really excited to see all this stuff coming together. Just a few upcoming events. Central Virginia Mortgage Banking Association is having a luncheon coming up on March 3rd at 11:30 a.m. here at the Hillsdale Conference Center. We'll be speaking, the CAR Foundation will be represented. Greg Slater will be speaking on behalf of the CAR Foundation at that event. And hopefully many of you can join us and join the Mortgage Bankers Association for that event. There's a public hearing coming up on the Albemarle County budget on March 5th at 6 p.m. at Lane Auditorium in the county office building. As you all may remember, CAR and the CAR Foundation issued a statement or letter last year supporting the creation of a $10 million affordable housing trust fund in the Albemarle County budget. So that's an opportunity for CAR to come and speak out in favor of that proposal. You'll be hearing more about that soon. And then the CAR Foundation and CAR are both sponsoring the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission's Regional Housing Summit, March 12th to 13th at the Omni Hotel. I'd love to have as many of you there as possible, speaking up for the realtor community as we consider as a region our affordable housing challenges. So several events coming up, all of them quite important. Just a quick list of our CAR Foundation board members. If you see any of them around, ask them how you can get involved with the CAR Foundation. We're really pleased with all the work that all these folks have been doing over the past year and in the coming year to get the CAR Foundation moving and making an impact on our affordable housing challenges. Ways that you all can support the CAR Foundation, certainly donate. Ali mentioned earlier, Josh mentioned earlier that all the donations this year at the general membership meetings qualify you for a free CAR membership in 2026. That's very exciting, and we're very grateful to CAR for that support. You can certainly spread the word. Our new website is online. Let people know about the CAR Foundation and what we're doing. You can invite us into your brokerages to give presentations about the CAR Foundation and get more agents involved. Volunteer for one of our board committees. If you have other ideas about what the CAR Foundation can be doing, please do send me an email, dave@carfoundation.org. We would love to hear from you. And then lastly, there's the QR code. And we're at 10:29. So Josh, I'm going to kick it back to you.
Awesome, Dave. Thank you so much. You guys are doing an amazing job, you and the board. It's amazing to see how much y'all done in such a short period of time and continue to have such an impact on our community. So thanks for the update. We hope to see you guys at the March General Membership Meeting, which is Thursday, March the 27th from 9 to 10:30, and this will be at the Hillsdale Conference Center. Hopefully no weather will delay that. We will celebrate our peers as they are recognized in the annual awards and professional honor society ceremonies. We'll also have an inspirational speech by Mark Lorenzoni, who's the co-owner of the Ragged Mountain Running and Walking Shop. To conclude this morning's meeting, I'd like to welcome the following new Realtor members who are listed on the screen. Thank you guys for joining CAR. In addition, I would also like to welcome the following new affiliate members as well. Thank you for your support of CAR. As always, please check the CAR Education and Events calendar for upcoming education events and programs. And again, thank you for joining us, and this meeting is adjourned.